Hi, my name is Elton Vargas, and today I will be analyzing the nonfiction article How ICE Picks Its Targets in the Surveillance Age. So, first, I decided to analyze the political context of the article. It was written in 2019, but this goes back to 2016, where President Trump started running for president, promising anti immigration policies. He used to call Latino immigrants killers, aliens, criminals. He promised to deport more people no matter what. Some of the actions he has taken is that anyone who committed minor offense is now susceptible to deportation. He has damaged with these policies more than 2,500 family members in 2018, separating them. Under this context, we can understand why the author decides to convey and narrate stories of family separations. For example, in this scene she uses phrases such as "her girls began to cry" or dialogue such as "I don't want them to take you." She also uses in another scene word choices such as family separation story or caring for dependents to convey the importance of family separation in this issue. I think her insistence in communicating the suffering of immigrant families with these deportations help us understand the consequences of these policies. Some interpretative lens that may affect my reading of the text is that I had a prior experience with my aunt. She got deported from Chicago, and my cousins didn't want to be away from her, so they also came to Mexico. And I used to see how my cousins cried in Christmas Eve because they were not able to be with their American cousins or with their dad. This experience may produce a bias against ICE actions narrated in the article. For example, since I know that ICE officers were not kind to my aunt, I may be biased to think that this text that says that the officers showed a small acts of kindness to the detainees is not true because they did not treat well to my aunt. Also, when I see here words such as aliens that refer to my Latino ethnicity, they may evoke feelings of resentment and fury towards Trump's speeches and policies. After analyzing my interpretations of the text, I do acknowledge that I was able to recall more negative things of ICE than good ones, and that I felt very upset for Trump policies. The main thesis of the article is that by using search databases, records, and systems that track all your information, ICE can find any legal immigrant with this, and is using this leverage not to find priorities such as terrorists, but deport and separate families. Some arguments she makes to defend this are that first, she uses an hyperbole to magnify the magnitude of information ICE has to make the reader think they literally have all our information. As we can see here, she says, sucks up terabytes of information from hundreds of disparate computer systems. She also gives realistic details of the procedures they have for obtaining information. For example, here she describes how they save plate information. The litany here presented with a repetition of the word people communicates that almost no human is excluded from being found. We can see here the litany which she repeatedly says people with driver's license, people. She says then further on that friction or privacy has been removed since every data is accessible. However, she then says that only the priorities can stop our families from being separated, conveying that if the same resources were used to track high-profile criminals or terrorists, then that would stop the crisis of deporting and tearing families apart. The author does a great job in presenting the truth, and she doesn't have a particular skewness. Here, for example, we can see she gives realistic details. She first references her source, and then she enumerates realistic numbers of the quantities she found. Then she does not only present the testimony of the victims, but she also tries to represent the viewpoint of the officers, as we can see here. The officers deny her an interview, but she then searches a written report which she references in the text to present the officer's viewpoint, and here we can see the quotes of that written report. When depicting detainment scenes, she gives details of the acts of kindness officers had with the victims, and these humanize officers and also reflect the impartiality of the article. Finally, she writes imagery of how places are empty, and this may seem fictional, but she chooses realistic places where real people are absent due to deportation. As we can see here, the elementary schools are different now, or the hotels are hiring residents still disappear. We can argue that her selectivity of which cases to narrate affects her adherence to truth, since she only chooses to narrate cases of families or persecuted victims, and not ones where ICE also used surveillance to capture terrorists, for example, or other high-profile criminals. But her emphasis in the family is justified by the present in which they are being severely affected and targeted.